Welcome to the week of wrestling, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Hunter Chambers, and I'm joined by my co-host, Ryan Payne. How's it going, man?
It is going very well. I'll be honest, it's the week has gone by so fast. I mean, there is a lot to talk about, but at this point, I'm just glad that we're actually doing this.
Yeah, me too. So if you guys did notice, we turned the Nerd Entertainment Network channel into the Week of Wrestling channel. This is primarily going to be our home to pretty much our reviews, our pay-per-view reviews, WWE, AEW reviews. And yes, tonight we are talking about AEW Dynamite from February 12th, 2025, this past Wednesday. But tomorrow night, as of time of recording, we are or AEW is doing their Grand Slam Australia show, which I am super excited for. So we thought it might be better to do it all in one video and to do our Grand Slam prediction. So I'm super excited to get into that. Let me go ahead and bring up the card as well. Ryan, do you want to start with your predictions and go over the match card real quick?
Mainly, you want to focus on the AEW card and not like some of the Ring of Honor matches that was also announced.
Oh, I didn't know that there was Ring of Honor
Well, I don't
things
know if it's
happening.
going to be on the whole show. It could simply just be for Honor Club, but so
Yeah, so that'll serve as future episodes of RH
yeah,
TV on Honor Club.
just
So
wanted to
let's
be
just
sure.
so let's just focus on the AEW Grand Slam cards. We have 5 matches on there, which is Mariah May versus Toni Storm for the Women's Championship,
Which
Will
is the main
Ospreay,
event.
Kenny Omega versus the Dallas family, Kazuchika Okada versus Buddy Matthews for the Continental Championship, Brisbane Brawl, Jay White and Coke versus the Death Riders, and Mercedes Moné defending the TBS Championship against Harley Cameron.
Yep.
All right, do you want to start with your predictions?
Well, yeah, I'll start with my predictions. First off, I will say I do believe that Mariah and Tony are going to be the main event for that show. They will close.
Oh, really?
That's what I believe. I'm not saying it's confirmed,
Mm-hmm.
but that's what I believe because that has been the bigger story that have been building since Tony Storm returned last year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been one constantly been threading through all the others. I mean, the second biggest one I would say well, in terms of storyline wise, I would say is Cope and Moxley. Third biggest is Kenny Osprey, and then fourth, I mean, not like I'm going just by storyline
Mm-hmm.
relevance. So it goes from Tony Mariah, Mox, Cope, Kenny Omega with Osprey and the Don Callis family. Then it's Mariah and Mercedes, and of course, dead last is Kazuchika and Buddy because of the Continental Classic. So I will start in
You mean
reverse.
Harley?
No, Buddy and Kazuchika.
No, because you said Mariah for Mariah versus Mercedes.
Oh yes, I did mean Harley. I am so sorry.
No, that's fine.
I
I want
apologize
to
for
make sure
that.
I heard that right.
I think I said Mariah because building up to that, Mariah has done separate interviews of certain wrestlers that she refuses to wrestle,
Mm-hmm.
and Mercedes' name came up as one of them.
Oh,
I
I
mean,
see. Okay.
but this is her in character. She's been constantly in character
Mm-hmm.
since she won the women's championship. But I'm gonna start from the bottom. Well, I'm gonna start from reverse. So my first prediction: Kazuchika versus Buddy Matthews. Kazuchika, he's going to win, but I know that it's going to be a back and forth match. Like it's gonna, it will most likely start off slow with Buddy wanting Kazuchika to come to bring out the rainmaker that he was in New Japan. Okada's
Mm-hmm.
gonna stay to that little comedy gimmick a little bit, like lazily wrestling. Then it will get more intense later on, especially when Kazuchika starts feeling the pressure. But he's ultimately going to win.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Um,
for this one, or you
yeah,
want to do all 5 of them, or you want me to chime in as we go on?
no, yeah, I figured we go back and forth on this. Unless you want,
Okay.
Yeah, we go back and forth on this, so it's not constantly me talking for 20, 30 minutes and then you chime in. I think we both do a healthy back and forth here.
Okay, so this one is interesting because I suspect that there's going to be a shock title change on this card because they have been hyping this up as a pay-per-view event. I feel like if you're gonna hype it up as, first time in Australia, you're gonna want to put a title on an Australian just to have that kind of hometown pop. For me, I think this could be the one you give the title change to because one, Okada's not doing much with the Continental Championship. He doesn't really need it. I think Buddy could take it and not only have banger matches every week, which he's been doing lately, but with the Continental title, it doesn't require him to be strictly singles. He can have that, take that with Brody, and kind of elevate that title more because when he's because the Hounds of Hell are on TV recently and a lot
Yes.
more recently on TV. So if you have your Continental Champion in not only teams matches but Buddy's also defending the title, it makes that title seem more important because it's on TV constantly.
I do agree with that. And they were doing something similar like that with Okada last year. Of course, he really doesn't need the Continental Championship, but this was a way to at least give him an excuse to be on television without putting him in a lot of big storyline matches. Him being the champion was working, helping Okada build this character that he was creating. And I think after the Continental Classic, yeah, that was his big storyline of tying tournament wins. I'm forgetting the wrestler's name. And if he is going to break it,
Chono, I believe.
yes, Chono, yes. And I'm pretty sure the following C2, which is this year, it will be about Okada wanting to break that. Unless, no, I don't think Okada's gonna make any surprise show ups in New Japan, but it does make a lot of sense if you want to really make this card feel important. The fact that you're here in Australia, yes, people assumed it was a pay-per-view show, but I've gone back and looked. They never said it was. Grand Slam. I mean, I believe a title change will happen here. I don't think it's this one, mainly because I think they're saving Okada to drop the championship down the road, maybe at All In. But you do make a lot of points having Buddy win that. Not just elevate the title, but it wouldn't be a great change of pace in Okada's storyline because so far, every time someone steps up to him, he's like, "No, bitch," and then someone pushes him into a championship match. And when he does, normally at the end, he's always like he's going to show respect or he's going to be a dick about it. I think having Buddy win will change Okada's attitude to slowly building him back up to All In as the Rainmaker. So when we do get that Omega and Okada match, it will not only tear the house down, but honestly, I think it's a match that's not even worthy of it. That doesn't even need a championship involved. So, but I still think Okada is going to retain. He might drop it sometime during this year, but maybe before All In or at All In. But I do like that idea.
So thinking about it more clearly, like because you brought up the fact that they set up Okada and Omega, I feel like if you want to do that, there has to be a way to combine your championships.
Okay, yeah. If you're gonna bring that up, then I don't like that idea. I think the Continental Championship is kind of a good for tournament wrestling. When it was first introduced, I'm thinking, okay, it's for the tournament, and I assumed anyone who was part of the C2 would challenge for it. But since it's been like an open championship, kind of like the never open weight for New Japan, we've just been seeing like runs of a lot of not random wrestlers, but a lot of, I will say it, random matches sometimes, and most of the time it's good to show, and they have been good to show out other wrestlers that's challenged for the title to show them that these guys are big match worthy competitors. But also, I think not only but to play advocate for your theory, having Buddy win that, I think not only helps validate, but it also helps give Buddy some time because it looks like the tag team division is currently going through a slow rebuild. Well, it's slowly gaining momentum again with the Hurt Syndicate as champions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the Hounds of Hell, they will challenge down the road. I think maybe sometime between Revolution and Dynasty, or Revolution. Yeah, because they're not going to, I don't know if they'll be able to do one thing AEW has recently have a hard time doing is making most audiences wait when it comes with big championship matches outside of the main singles titles.
Mm-hmm. So the point I was getting to is I feel like there are some championships in AEW that you don't really need. I think if you want a really good mid-card title, I think the international championship is, because of its legacy and the way that you presented it as the Intercontinental Championship, the workhorse belt. I don't see the point in having the Continental Championship, especially when it just feels like there's nothing special added to the Continental rules. It's just no outside interference.
And 20-minute
Like,
limit. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, if it was something special like, the hardcore title or something that like added something different to the card, like say what you want about the FTW championship when it was around in AEW. I liked the fact that when you had that on the card, you knew it was going to be a different match.
Yeah.
It was going to be a different, because that's hardcore rules. That's your hardcore title. It gave something different to the card that was just like, you knew it was going to be something fun. The Continental Championship and the International Championship kind of feel one and the same. Because just like great matches, but you don't really have any stories for the Continental Championship that you can tell outside of the C2.
Understood. Yeah.
So if you're going to do that, the idea of Omega winning the International Championship from Takeshita and then going and fighting Okada, but combining both titles at maybe Double or Nothing, or all more than likely All In, because they had the stare down there. That would not only give it a big marquee match, but it will make it to where the championships are more important because you have less of them.
I'm definitely following you. And I will say, yeah, with the multiple titles that they do have, they are having a hard time really separating them, or at least highlighting them in certain shows. That's why, I mean, if the Continental Championship is going to be kind of reduced down, or if it's not going to be used as much, I personally believe it should strictly just be a tournament championship belt, to where only wrestlers that have fought in the Continental Classic should challenge for that championship. That way, you keep the field of competitors limited, and you put more emphasis on wrestlers getting better records and more wins, really making the whole wins and losses mean something. Sure, it'll help wrestlers, to earn a chance to challenge for a belt. But for something like the Continental Classic, it should be your record should stand as your reason to challenge for it. I mean, because for a while now, AEW has been very loose with the records now. Like, yeah, they reset at the new year, but they have not taken the time to really put more emphasis on it, especially if they're going to draw in new audiences. Like, what's the point of showing these records if someone can easily challenge for a title after winning a match? That's why I think if the Continental Classic will be something, it needs to be raised to a standard, an athletic standard, to be like, oh, you just came to AEW and you want to challenge for the Continental Classic? No. First things first, get some wins, have an outstanding positive have an outstanding record, get into the Continental Classic, then regardless if you win or lose, then maybe you'll be in contention of challenging. Make it kind of like a 3-step thing, a 3-step way of challenging.
Or, I mean, as you said before, one way to kind of make it different is, as you said, take 12 competitors? Is that the normal for C2? It's 6 and 6, right?
Yes.
So that's a top 10, top 12 right there. Just take that list minus the champion, of course. You have 11.
Mm-hmm.
And then just go by records. Have them fight kind of each other in that division. And as you said, whoever has the best record goes on and faces for the Continental Championship. But if you do combine them and you just make, say, an Intercontinental Championship, you just combine the names. What you can do with the C2 is have that be a number one contenders match tournament. The C2 every year, the winner gets a shot at the International Championship. Then you can take the stories from the C2 and the winner, and you can build storylines around. I had to go through this grueling tournament because this championship means a lot to me. Almost like
it
a
is
ring.
strong. I just can't help but see some holes in that, because if it's just a tournament for a number one contendership, and then all of a sudden the writing or the booking starts getting wishy-washy with that, to where 2 months later someone gets 3 or 4 wins and then they challenge, I don't know. I mean, it definitely falls into some of the flaws of this, of not establishing really early on what this championship was.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we can discuss more about that later. We can definitely move on my number 4 ranking of importance, which is the TBS championship between Mercedes Moné defending against Harley Cameron. Now that Harley Cameron, that one, that's where I do feel like, with wins and losses being very important, because Harley, they have really not only gone all in with her, but they have really shown like how important it was for Harley just to get a win.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I mean, many people can pick apart this as like, oh, but this wrestler has a better record than Harley, and she's not challenging Mercedes. Well, it's not the story they're focusing on right now. So you should look at the story that they're focusing on. And Harley Cameron, throughout majority of 2020, throughout all of 2024, well, most of 2024, and even bits of late 2023, when they had her paired with Saraya, she has been a strong personality. She has been putting the work in the matches, even if she was losing every single time. Because that's one thing I've noticed with Tony Khan: when it comes with a wrestler he's getting behind, especially if they're brand new, they are gonna be going through the reps, taking a lot of losses, but then once they start making that trajectory of getting wins, they are slowly gonna build and build until they are established players, to where when you see this wrestler in a match, if you're someone that has followed them from the start, you will go, yeah, this person is established here in AEW. Harley, it's been very early for her to challenge for a championship, but I will first say my prediction: Mercedes is going to retain. I would love for them to actually pull a surprise and have Harley win by, not in a way for Mercedes to say it was a fluke victory.
Mm-hmm.
Like she catch her by surprise. But I do think that Mercedes will win this. But we are going to get one hell of a show between both of these ladies. And this, even
So
if Harley doesn't win at home, this is only going to embolden her even more to work harder in the ring, to where I could see her later in the year challenging for that TBS championship again.
So interesting point. I did not realize that. This Harley Cameron was trained at flatback schools under Sean Spears and Tyler Breeze. Just an
Yes.
interesting fact. That's pretty cool. I was watching Fightful, and someone in the comments said something that's very interesting to me, and I really hope they go this route.
Okay.
By the way, I'm going with Mercedes retaining as well, but someone said, "What if after Harley loses, she needs to find a trainer, and that's where you introduce Athena on AEW TV, and Harley becomes her new minion, her minion in training, and then you can set up a feud between Athena and Mercedes with the idea that Harley is training to kind of come back and beat Mercedes."
Honestly, I don't mind that. I do like that idea, because with Harley, so many multiple storylines can happen, especially her personality and Athena's personality really just clashing
Would
together.
mesh so well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, not clashing, but yeah, meshing together, really
Hmm.
working on screen, and then finally, hopefully, they can do on ROH really set up to where they'll do the third match between Billy Starks and Athena, where Billy will finally win the women's championship off of her, and then Athena can be full time on the main roster of AEW, to where if
Hmm.
she, if there is the theory that Athena's going to challenge Mercedes, if the theory, and I'm saying a theory, that we're going to see Mercedes and Athena at All In because Athena's a native Texan, then that's something they
Yep.
really do need to jump on immediately.
But like Harley's comedic timing is also like beautifully done. So her going against like the seriousness of Athena, working with Athena like that would
Yes.
be comedic gold as well.
Well,
So yeah, I'm also going Mercedes. But I do feel like Harley's gonna. This is gonna be the show out for Harley Cameron. Like this is
yes,
where she's really gonna show what she's learned.
it will be a standout for her, especially going up against Mercedes, who so far throughout most of the matches she's had this last year, I mean, despite what some people might say when she's against opponents of her size and stature, she has never failed to try to deliver a very good match. I mean, you could
Hmm.
say her worst one may have been against Britt Baker, but even then, they were still trying to put together a very fluid match that just wasn't working well on their chemistry.
And you were in the middle of a long card, and the match went a little too long. Like if they would have shortened it a little bit, I think it would have been so much better.
Yeah, there are some moments where there are some moments on AEW pay-per-view cards where some matches need to be a little shorter. Not every match needs to get that plus 10 or that plus 20. Some matches you can have an 8 to 7 minute match and it'll still be fantastic. And even then, Tony
Mm.
doesn't need to load the 0 hour with lots of multi-man matches. Maybe 2 or 3 just to help with time in between so then they can really nail down that card.
Yeah, but also I'm more okay with the TBS and TNT titles not really having like the records matter, because to me those are more like open challenge titles. Like they're like their version of TV titles. So if you're
Oh, well, yeah.
separated out where it's like, the world title, the international title, they have their divisions,
Yes.
and like the women's title, the world title has their division. But if you want to use like the TNT and the TBS championship as like your open challenge belt, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. And they can always switch them up every now and then, whoever has the belt. This person can be a defending champion where they accept open challenges, and this person can be like, oh no, you have to work your way up to fight me.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to our next one.
Let's do so, yeah.
When are we doing
I will say, yeah,
Jay
my
Uso?
on my number 3, it would be Kenny Osprey versus Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher.
Fletcher? Okay, let's do that one then. Go ahead.
This one I went back and forth on a couple times, not just because of the rivalry we were seeing between Fletcher and Osprey, but now with the inclusion of Kenny being back and with Don Callis and the Don Callis family actually being propped up as a very finally as a threatening stable, I went back a few times. First, I was immediately going with, oh, Kenny and Osprey are going to get that win, but
Mhm.
Osprey and Kenny really have no problem putting guys over. It's just all about how the company is going to utilize on that. Because earlier on, when Takeshita was starting to form out, he has 2 wins. He got 2 victories over Kenny Omega, and
Mhm.
Osprey, once he got himself had a strong position in the company after All In, he really had no problem being like, okay, Kyle's gonna be the one going over in our feuds. So, but ultimately thinking about it, if Okada's going to retain, but then Kyle's another hometown boy, so
Mhm.
that as far as Australia goes, in my predictions, it's 0-2. So but then, well, but even then, regardless, I do believe that Osprey and King, they're going to give it to Takeshita and Kyle, so they're going to win. and it will
Oh
set up.
wow, okay.
I'm going to go with them because the potential it will set up down the road. Um, it's mostly because it's going to play. The storyline will be with Ospreay and Kenny working together. That's going to be the
Mhm.
through and through line for that whole thing. And also, Don Callis, they got the numbers. That's going to win in the end. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna. I mean, I would love to believe that Kenny and Omega will overcome the odds, but with the murder machines, and now with Mark Davis
Mhm.
begrudgingly a part of the family, it's gonna be to where those numbers are gonna play in. And I actually think Mark Davis will be an instrumental part in who gets the victory for this match.
Ooh.
So my point is going to go to the Don Callis family.
Yeah, this is difficult for me. This is probably the hardest one on the card because, as you said, it could go either way, and that's the type of matches I love when like it's not an obvious winner. At first, I was like you, I was like, of course, Osprey and Kenny are going to win. I do believe on last week's episode of Dynamite, though, Kenny did make a mistake when he said that this match in Australia is going to be his first match back. Because I'm pretty sure his
Well, I
first
mean,
match back in AEW was against Brian Cage, right?
well, yeah, that was a little slip up he made, but I think what he means is it's gonna be like the cleaner. Like, I mean, I don't know. Actually, I don't know what he meant by that. Maybe it was just
Yeah,
a slip up.
it's not a big deal. It's a slip up. I just thought that was funny.
Yeah.
But
But a lot of people will read into that, honestly.
yeah, sadly. Um, yeah, I'm gonna go with the Don Callis family as well. I think he made a lot of great points about like, but I also think the key is gonna be, as you said, how well Osprey and Omega work well together, and we
Yeah,
know that Fletcher and Konosuke do work well together. Like they're a great tag team just in general, and I think that's going to
yeah,
make
they've
the
had them tag
difference.
team a few times, so they do work well together.
All right, so that's my pick as well. All right, are we doing the Brisbane Brawl, JY and Co versus
Yes,
Death Rider?
that's definitely what's next. The Bisbin Brawl. Now looking at this, I've just realized every match has a wrestler from. Oh, well, actually, no. Jay White's from New Zealand, I believe. Or no.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Yeah,
God, I'm stuck in my head now. Well, I mean, yeah, he's Australia adjacent.
yeah. There we go. So you can start on this one if you want.
uh, this one, uh, this one I was also going back and forth in my head, mainly with after. Well, we'll talk about it in the Dynamite review. Actually, we will talk about. I mean, we have to bring it up right now. With
Mm-hmm.
Hope getting the opportunity to face Moxley for the championship. I actually think Hope and Jay White's going to win this one, mainly because since I mean, now that Jay White is fully entangled into this Death Riders angle storyline, and with Wheeler Yuta constantly costing Jay White opportunities over and over. Ooh, excuse me. With Wheeler costing Jay White opportunities over and over again, this is Jay White going to get not just a win back, but to definitely get one over on the Death Riders. That will start mostly with him getting that one-on-one match against Yuta, which I think is going to happen before Revolution, or it could be a match at Revolution. Just not just for Jay, just to have a pay-per-view match, but because Wheeler Yuta for the longest time since he's been part of the BCC now Death Riders, he's honestly been kind of like that mini.
That thorn in everybody's side.
Yeah, but even then, when Wheeler was with the BCC, he was always the one constantly getting beaten, the one getting pinned to protect
Mm-hmm.
Claudio, Danielson, and Mox. So I think with Wheeler, I think maybe Tony is going to start pushing Wheeler as a not main event, but a big match guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, yeah, he's not in this. He's not in the tag match. But I do think Wheeler's going to try to get involved, and Jay White, what they have done since return, they have been on top of him being a smart wrestler again. So
Mm-hmm.
it's mostly in these situations where he's going to see this shit coming, and of course FTR, I know they're going to be there to back them up. I think I don't know. I think maybe the person to get the pin would be Jay White, or it could be Cope. But I think Jay White would be the one to score this pin.
Yeah, I'm going with Jay White and Cup as well, and I'm going on a bold prediction right here. I'm gonna say Jay White pins John Moxley.
I was thinking that too. Mainly just
I
in case if Cope does not win. Well, I mean, obviously he may not win at Revolution. Jay might be the one to set up to maybe face him at
I pinned you.
yeah.
He could be like, I beat you in that team's match.
Yeah. Personally, honestly, I think Mox needs to drop that belt. Death Riders need to lose all their gold so they can be built back up as a faction again, as a dangerous faction.
Mm-hmm.
Because so far in wrestling, with modern wrestling, anytime a faction is born, it always comes down to they need to have all the gold in order to be important. And I'm like, if we look at wrestling history, sure, there have been some legendary factions that have gotten gold, but it was
Mm-hmm.
never like all of them got gold at the same time. I mean, Four Horsemen, yes, there was at a time during their legendary run that all of them had gold at the same time. But even then, the Four Horsemen was a stable that endured from NWA to WCW. Of course, it didn't happen in WWF or WWE, but there were times they tried to do that. But even then, the
Yeah.
Horseman's just like Four Horsemen, for example. Even with D-Generation X, when the more members they got, it was never a situation where they all got gold at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think Moxley's losing the title at Revolution. I don't think he's losing it at Dynasty. I could see him losing it at Double or Nothing though.
I personally think he needs to
that's
drop
like
it.
their big four.
Yeah.
And like that's a major pay-per-view. I could see them doing it where, because maybe by the time that Double or Nothing happens, Darby will be back and you can finish up the storyline. Because I think Double or Nothing is usually around March, April.
His first reign as AEW champion happened at Revolution. So I think it would be kind of poetic for Moxley to lose the belt at the pay-per-view that first started him on his run as world. I mean, that started his first reign.
Was Moxley's first title reign at Revolution?
No, his first win, getting the title.
No, that was Wrestle Dream, wasn't it? This current one?
No, I'm talking about his first.
Oh. It was at Revolution. You're right. Yep, against Jericho. Yep.
Yeah, I'm not meaning this current version of Moxley. I meant early on, like when Moxley when he fought against Jericho. That match was at Revolution in February. Moxley won, and he was champion throughout that 2020 year.
So you might not be wrong. What I could see them doing, and this would be kind of hilarious. You have Cope win at Revolution, then you have Christian cash in his contract on him to win the title.
I would not hate that. Mainly so it's kind of like really, it plays into the smarts of Christian. Like for the second time, Christian took something from Copeland after Cope had won a championship. It really plays into where Christian being a smart wrestler.
And then you could have Christian hold it for like a month or two till Darby gets back, and then you have a natural feud between him and Darby for the title. And then Darby can win it.
That's one thing why I want Mox to drop that championship to change things up, because another issue I've seen with TK's booking is when there's a wrestler he wants to have a championship or put in a big championship match, storylines will get stalled when Tony wants to wait for that wrestler to come back. I mean, that's not just this example with Darby, but also when the TBS championship was going around, when Jade Cargill was still here. Jade went through so many opponents. They were setting up her and Chris Statlander. Chris got injured, so Jade had an extra longer run with that championship until Stat came back and did that squash match against her, which was one thing that I did not like. Regardless of how people felt about Jade in AEW, I thought that her having this undefeated streak served her nothing. Didn't serve her at all. I don't mind her having squash matches against wrestlers or having every now and then a good 10 to 12 minute match. But I felt that she needed some losses in order to define her statue as a singles competitor. But it's tomato. And then another example we just had this past recent year. with Mina Shirakawa, when they showed her at All In, she clearly could not commit to going against Mariah May immediately. So they were drawing that out until she came back, until she was available,
Yeah.
until Mina was available for that feud. And then they pushed it very fast instead of saving it for World's End.
Yeah, I just don't know if, because they're really setting up Darby to be the Sting to Moxley's Hogan. Like Darby has always been like, Darby's ended pay-per-views by like chasing Moxley. So I don't know if him winning off of Christian is going to be as impactful for the story as him winning it off of Moxley.
Well, the way of Darby, I mean, before we had that brutal moment with Danielson at Wrestle Dream, that other Wrestle Dream pay-per-view, well, the first one, Christian versus Darby, that's what started. Like Darby gets betrayed by Nick Wayne, Cope returns, Darby and Christian have like this bitter blood feud. Sure, it may not be as big as what they were setting up last year with the Death Riders, but you still have something important to when Darby comes back. When he does come back, and if Christian is still champion, Darby can win. And then Mox can return and go. And if Mox wants to hunt for that championship, he can go, you are definitely not ready. And I do think that something can build here. It's just I think they really need to get the title. They need to get every championship off of the Death Riders so we can start having some fresher storylines and some fresher.
Yeah, the problem is, like, Darby really wants to climb Mount Everest, and that's going to take a month. So I don't know if you want your champion
all that power to Darby. If Darby wants to do that, he is more than willing to. But honestly, in a business standpoint, from Tony's perspective, if I was in Tony Khan's shoes, it's gonna be the moment you're back. We'll put you in some programs, but we'll have to hold off on you being champion, becoming a world champion. Tony just needs to move on, put the title on somebody else, so they can start doing something better. Because
I would actually rather than put the title on Hangman.
Yeah, like do something like that. I mean, Moxley, he's the only person in AEW to win the World Heavyweight title multiple times. And currently, we can make a story to where we can build Hangman to gain his second, MJF currently gain his second. Hell, once Swerve and Ricochet is over, we can start building for Swerve to challenge for that championship again. There's the doors open for so many fresher storylines to focus on. And whoever the writing team they have, we don't need to keep circling the Death Riders in championship gold. We can start having them be brutes again, trying to destroy the company and just go, this person's not ready, or trying to destroy this talent and this person. Make this faction feel like a bunch of bullies to where finally you can have a storyline to where, building up Double or Nothing, we have Anarchy in the Arena match where you do have a solid babyface team challenge the Death Riders.
But so we're about 40 minutes in, and we haven't.
Let's talk on the last match. Let's talk the last match.
Yeah. All right, so we have Mariah May taking on Timeless Toni Storm for the AEW Women's World Championship. This is where I think they're going to pull the trigger on an Australian winning a title. I want Buddy to hold a title, but I think they're going to let Okada hold it. But I think Toni Storm is going to take it off of Mariah.
My vote is towards Timeless Toni too. Mainly, it's two things. One, I do think of the giving them that hometown pop, having Mariah and Toni in the main event, because Mariah, when she won the championship, it was in her hometown in England, in the UK. So having Toni win it in her hometown, and also, once again, freshen up the storyline, because I'm sorry, they really did that. The women's division was really doing a good job majority of 2024. But then that later run, from August to December, it stalled. It stalled. There were some good moments having Willow and Anna Jay challenge, but most of the time, especially with the whole thing with Anna Jay, and especially with Mina Shirakawa, they rushed through them so fast instead of letting them breathe. So having Mariah lose the championship, it not only opens up Anna Jay challenging again, because she can't challenge as long as Mariah is the champion. I would love. We can maybe,
that was stipulation, wasn't it?
That was the stipulation in their third match. we can also finally open the doors of building Jamie versus Tony again with a very have them have the rubber match.
Mm-hmm. So I will say, I wish they'd done more with Mariah. I like what they're doing now with her, where she's almost like the Shao Kahn of the women's division, where she's like, I don't have to compete. You compete
Yes.
for me. That should have been the storyline the entire time, where it's when she won the title, she became the Shao Kahn. She doesn't defend on weekly TV. She's only at the pay-per-views, and you build her up where it's like,
Yeah.
no, I'm better than all of you. I'm the champion. Why
Like
should
really
I have to
highlight your
compete for
women's
free?
division. Like, yes, I've
Yeah.
seen the roster they have. It's fantastic. But when you're not highlighting that many women in matches, not just four-way or three-way matches, but in singles matches, you're really
Mm,
kind of showing a flaw and a lack of depth, which there is depth, but you're showing a lack of utilizing it. And also, when
mhm.
Mariah won, it really exposed how they're not shining on the baby faces of their division. They were shining so much on the heels.
Yeah.
I mean,
So yeah, I'm going
the fact
Tony.
that the writing team turned Chris Statlander face because they thought they had nothing for her was kind of stupid. But even now, with Chris as a face again, there is some material. There is something there for her to build.
Mhm.
And now you
Um,
have the inclusion of Megan Bain, which, yes,
yes.
fantastic. I could see some good promos from Tony Storm, just really like going like, wow, that you are a woman whose tits I can climb, you know.
Yes. By the way, we didn't get to talk about it. How great was that reveal timeless Tony Storm promo where
I
she
really
revealed
liked
herself
it.
to be acting as Tony Storm?
Yes. Like
Amazing.
I liked it. I didn't care if everyone knew the conclusion was going to be, oh, it's timeless Tony Storm the whole time. It's still a great the reveal is fantastic, but also it helps unveil the storyline that Mariah she's really not putting on an act. Tony, and ever since timeless Tony Storm came back, she has constantly been getting under Mariah's skin.
Dude,
She
her
pretty much
dressing up as Mariah was
God,
awesome.
loved it. I don't care if the hair. I mean, clearly the highlights were fake, but it worked. But
Oh my
Mariah,
god.
Tony was working with it so well. And then this past match, and then after Mariah's little squash match, she tried dressing her opponent up as Tony's. Oh wait, that's part of the Dynamite review. Sorry, I'm getting too early on into
No,
that.
that's fine. But the great thing about that was how when Mariah saw that, she was quiet.
Oh
She
yeah.
didn't rant or complain. She just very stoic, very quiet, very pissed off
Well, no,
that.
that's not pissed off. She was worried. That was a
Mhm,
scared look to where, oh shit. And so far, ever since Timeless Tony Storm returned, the AEW has shown two women that have gotten into Mariah's skin: Timeless Tony Storm and Megan Bain. Two women
mhm.
that been in Stardom as Mariah May, and I'm pretty sure there are matches of Megan Bain versus Mariah in Stardom. So it's clear that Mariah, hopefully, I mean, if Tony when I'm not saying if I'm going to lock this in when Tony Storm does win, hopefully we'll see. Like Mariah even said in her promo, if she loses, she'll disappear better than Tony Storm. It's pretty much just Mariah being like, whatever you do, I can do better. Maybe we'll
Yeah.
have some time with Mariah off television, and then she comes back,
Mhm.
as as the true woman from hell.
Yeah. All right. So we locked in our picks.
Yes.
We're about 44 minutes into this. Let's finally get into our Dynamite review for this past Wednesday. Very, very great show, in my opinion. This is a show that really, as AW says, restored the feeling because everything, in my opinion, worked.
You're not
Go
wrong.
ahead.
I did enjoy most of these matches. Normally, when I'm like having Dynamite on, I will be like working on my laptop or
Mm,
like going on my phone. This was one of those one times where it's always been like a 60-40 pull. Most of the time I'm paying attention. The other times I'm preoccupied and listening in the background. This was a Dynamite to where I am glued in, except when either from streaming or commercials come on, I'm muting the television. But
There you
this was
go.
a very strong showing Dynamite, especially going into Grand Slam.
Yeah, so I love the way that this opened up. It opened up with like everybody, like who's in the main event and stuff, really just backstage getting prepared. It feels like a UFC fight where it's like, how like when they open up the card, you see the fighters backstage with their teams and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Felt like that. I love that they're leaning more into the sports presentation of it more than the entertainment aspect. The opening match, I fucking love. Max Caster, since he trademarked the best wrestler alive and he has it signed and notarized and shit, that is hilarious.
I think this is a good way of having Max do this is the best way of having him still dip in this comedy realm, but also slowly rebuild himself. Because let's be honest,
Mm,
as he was like he and Anthony Bones were always kind of like it was always a push and pull between the two of them as the Acclaim. But every time when it came to those big matches, it was always Bowens, being the one doing most of the legwork. Nothing against Max Caster, but it was more like when it came with the psychology aspect of storytelling in the ring, Bowens was able to do it better than Caster.
mm,
I think this is having Caster having these open matches to wrestle the best wrestler alive is a way to really so far he's a comedy heel, but the moment they really do that turn to where he's going to be a serious heel again, then we'll start seeing Max Caster like wrestle seriously. So this is still a
mm.
good way to move him away from the raps. Well, not yet, at least, and have him still be like, "Oh, I'm this delusional heel who is better than everyone else in AEW." And then guess what? The wrestlers that face him shuts his mouth, which the opening challenge was Hangman.
By the way, I love the fact that when he got booed, when he was like, this is the best wrestler alive, and he got booed, he was like, "Don't blame me, blame your government."
Oh my god! See, that's where most of like when Max raps really do work. I mean, when he was a babyface, his raps did work a lot, but he always had to like try to wiggle in something for that hometown pop.
Mhm.
But when he's the
Dude,
delusional heel, they work a lot better.
he shut down the crowd. Like, not, you know, his comebacks to the crowd are really good. And after, like, this is a squash match. This is like a minute and a half. He gets one move. I love when Hangman comes out. He runs into the crowd and tries to hide behind the sign.
Oh boy.
Heyman's like, "What are you doing, man? I see you."
It was really
Oh
those
man,
moments where you go, "Hey man, you say you're the best, come and prove it." But he's just like, "No, no, 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 I am the best. I just don't want to fight you."
yeah. So, he hits one move. Caster hits one move, which is a Hurricanrana. It looked really good, and then Heyman just sliding lariat, buckshot lariat, and that's it. What I love also is after Hangman walks off, Caster's holding on to his best wrestler alive. He's like, "It's still true. It's still true." Someone also said that they're gonna have Caster, like, because it's like framed, that's gonna be like hit, like be used as a weapon. I think he's gonna use it against Billy Gunn. I think Billy Gunn's gonna take
I think the moment they
that
do
glass shot.
The moment they do Bowens versus Caster, yeah, that will be the trigger to pull to use something like that. And then he will get the win over Bowens, and then he really will go. Then he really is going to dig even deeper into the "I'm the best wrestler alive."
Yep. All right, so we have a video package. Dude, Ricochet versus Swerve last week was amazing. And I think the way that they had Ricochet win the match was brilliant, because the idea of Ricochet could say, "Oh, it was an accident. He came down on me. I didn't low blow him. He came down on me that way." Brilliant. So we have this video package. Ricochet stole the robe, Jimmy Rave's robe, which I love
Yes,
that they keep tying in that how important that robe is to Nana, because he was a manager of Jimmy.
yeah,
So
during
you
the
have that kind
orange
of
phase, yeah.
connection. So Swerve says that he's not done with Ricochet. I love that Nana is starting to kind of question Swerve, where he's like, "What are you doing? Like, this is over. Let's have our focus more on the world title." And Swerve, being so blinded by the hatred, can't see that he needs Nana to refocus him.
Well, Swerve did make a good point. He said the last time I decided to let something go, which refers to Hangman, he lost his childhood home and nearly gotten his head ripped off. So it's more like Swerve does have a strong point not to let it go. And you did bring up that robe is important to Nana. So I think maybe in another interview, Swerve's going to go, Nana, he took the robe, man. I know how important it is to you. Like, this is Swerve trying to justify why he still wants a piece of Ricochet, and why Ricochet, of course, in his heel gimmick, he's going to want nothing to do with him. So I know they are definitely building to one final match between the two of them. I don't think it's going to be a lights out match, but I know it's going to be something brutal, like maybe a Texas Death match, maybe a First Blood match.
I can see that.
I mean, especially since Ricochet's carrying those scissors around, I think a First Blood match kind of works even better.
I don't know. I like the idea of like a Texas Death match, because the idea that like Swerve, that's his match. That's a match that he took from Hangman, where he can claim as his match. Now it's like,
well,
okay,
yeah.
Well, he could be like, okay, if you want to act big and bad, meet me in my match, Texas Death Match. Hell, if you no, when is All in Texas?
All in Texas, it's July 12th, I believe.
Never mind. I was gonna say, if you could extend the feud till then, Texas Deathmatch in Texas would be awesome, but that's too long to kind of extend the story.
And also, I'm pretty sure they don't want to limit it down. It might be for it might be for, if they do Texas Deathmatch, it might be for like a Dynamite or a Collision in Texas leading up to All In.
Well, wasn't the last Texas Deathmatch not in Texas? I believe that was Hangman and Swerve, wasn't it?
No, it was Hangman and Daniels.
Right. Recently.
But I'm just saying, like, if that is going to be used again, I mean, it would make some sense to where, okay, maybe they'll do it in Texas building up to All In. But no, I think something like that needs to be saved for a truly for a blood feud. Or, to really, or add consequences like they did with Hangman and Daniels, to where Daniels got beaten so bad he'll never wrestle again.
I love what they're doing with Hangman and his storyline. That's some of the best stuff that's happening in AEW right now.
Honestly,
all right, so let's move on. We have the AEW Trios Championships. The Death Riders, Claudio Castagnoli, Pac, and Wheeler Yuta versus the Undisputed Kingdom, Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, and Kyle O'Reilly. This match goes about 18 minutes, and it is awesome, man.
It really
this match was really good.
It was fantastic. This presented a true, like, for a while. I mean, sure, this is the first time Death Riders are defending the Trios Championships, but even then, this has presented the true Death Riders with a true challenge as a Trios unit. I'm disappointed Undisputed Kingdom didn't win, but looking at the crowd reaction to that match, how Cole, O'Reilly, and Strong have been able to really not just challenge them, but stay toe-to-toe with them and even prevent them from being as dominant as they normally are. So I do. Well, of course they didn't win, but that only means to me, yeah, we're going to get another match between these guys. And hopefully if there is another championship match, Undisputed Kingdom wins, because that is a good team to really focus and surround your trios division.
I could see them doing it again at Double or Nothing, because that's when Cole kind of not came back officially, but last year at Double or Nothing, that was when he was kind of at his lowest point. I think the idea of him last year being left in the middle of the ring by MJF, and then a year later he's holding gold at the same event, would be a really cool story to tell.
I could definitely see that. I mean, personally, part of me, I think Undisputed Kingdom can win it before pay-per-view, maybe like on a Dynamite and a Collision show. Because as much as I don't mind seeing titles change hands at pay-per-views, what really would help bring so much importance, not only just to viewing audiences, but drawing in ticket sales for your regular shows, is by showing a title change. That way,
Yeah.
when you do start setting up not only eliminator matches, but you also set up a championship match for a Dynamite or a Collision, you really bring that sense for the audience to be like, you really want to pack the house or bring in as or sell as much as you can to meet the ticket gate.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
So
yeah, I mean, sure, maybe most of the time you won't see maybe most the 80% of the time you book a championship on a Dynamite and Collision, the champion's gonna win. But if you just add a little bit of hope in these moments, or you do have a championship change, you just bring that much more excitement to the following Dynamite shows where people are going to want to buy tickets to see. And same
mhm.
for Legend.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, this match ends with the referee being distracted by oh my god, was it
I believe it's
Marina?
Claudio. Yeah, a chair is brought in,
Yeah.
and then I believe Yuta
Yuta
hits a
hits
low blow.
on Kyle O'Reilly and pins him.
I thought it was strong, but it makes more. But I understand if it's Kyle.
Yeah, I have a thing up right here. It says that he pinned Kyle, but I don't know. Yeah, Kyle O'Reilly for the pin. All right, so let's move on. Great match, by the way. Great match.
It is. And even when they try to do that beatdown, I did like to see that that reuniting of the trio of Daddy Magic, Angelo, and Garcia,
Mhm.
that wasn't just a build for Daly's place. They're actually reuniting together. That's why I like the fact of really putting the belt on Undisputed Kingdom. That way we do get more focus on the trios division. You can spread it out.
Yeah, definitely. So how do you feel about this segment that we had with Coke, Jay White, and
Oh,
kind of
them
the briefcase
attacking Moxley to
saga?
get the briefcase, right?
Yeah, because that leads into the ending of the show as well.
I think it's kind of good because for the longest time they've done the whole thing with the Death Riders at the championships in this little briefcase, and Moxley has been kind of untouchable. Well, not untouchable, but as long
Mhm.
as he and Marina have been wheeling that briefcase around, it continues the story thread that it's held hostage. So, and since he had denied Cope a shot at the title, and he's definitely not going to give anything to Jay White, having the two of them attack Moxley and take that briefcase really forces his hand, which later in the show we do see the results of it. But it does play to finally Moxley is no longer like blindsiding. He's no longer being the main predator. He's also the one being hunted, which plays
Mhm.
into Cope as the experienced veteran he is, and it kind of brings me back to shades of the ultimate opportunist. He sees an
Yeah, I mean,
opportunity,
he
takes advantage.
does make a reference of that as well when Jay has briefcase. He's like, I've held a briefcase a few times in my career,
Yeah,
which I thought was a pretty fun callback.
yeah. Don't deny his history. Yeah, sure, he's changing his name to Cope. That doesn't mean he's still not the same wrestler
Love
who.
the fact that they didn't go the WWE route of like kind of pretending that his name has always been Cope, because multiple times on the show people called him Adam Copeland. So
And
I
he's
just
not recorrecting. And he's not correcting anybody, which is fine.
yeah, he's like, you know what? It's Cope, Adam Copeland, same person, different name.
Yeah, I
Um,
guess this also helps for him as well. So sure, I mean, yeah, he can go to the ring and announce his name, but even then, having a shorter name, kind of like when he was simply Edge,
mhm.
also brings it back. And hell, people are getting behind the Cope thing. Here, it is dumb, but guess what? It's a stupidity we can all indulge in.
Yeah, I mean, at first it was kind of weird, but I've gotten used to it. It's like Walter and Gunther.
Exactly.
I've just started calling him Gunther after a while.
And also, I mean, the fact that Gunther is not angry about it, I mean, he's like, hey, it's getting him notoriety, it's getting him
Mhm.
more exposure, it's making him money. I mean, I kind of wish they get the old, that classic, oh my
Theme
god,
song.
well, it's not his theme, but that classical melody that played with Imperium,
Mhm.
that played to him. But You know,
That symphony, right?
yes, the symphony. But hey, maybe WWE just didn't want to keep paying the royalties. Like that's okay. I mean, he's still hey, he's done the best he did with that name change, and I believe Cope will do the same thing with this name change.
Yeah. So then we have MJF doing an interview. I love this because not only does he get to heel on Dustin Rhodes a little bit, but you started planting seeds for MJF and Hangman, which man, that feud for I think this is the first like long-term feud that Hangman and MJF have ever had.
Yeah, an
They've had
official feud.
matches.
Yeah,
Yeah, like they've had matches because I'm pretty sure this goes back to like the first Double or Nothing, the Casino Battle Royal. Because I'm pretty sure MJF
yes,
eliminated
because Hangman
Hangman
he was
that.
the one who won that Casino Battle Royal,
Mm-hmm.
and then they fought again in a match for the first time for the Dynamite ring.
Yep, in which
Yeah,
MJF won.
yeah, they've had moments where they've had matches, but never a actual feud. So this is a good
Mm-hmm.
way to start that, especially with Hangman on the back burner. I mean, MJF just like really digging into Hangman, and I love how Hangman's just like, "That's it."
Nonchalant about it.
Yeah,
That
he's like, "Come on, man, you
that's all
stick
you
with the
got.
king."
Which is great because MJF, his character is going after the low is always going after the low hanging fruit. And I
hmm
love the fact that when he brought up the booze, like Heyman's past with alcohol, he was like, "Really? Like that's the best you've got?" Like he just it doesn't bother him anymore. He's done a lot more heinous shit since then that it doesn't
Exactly.
even affect him anymore. But I love the line that really got under Hangman's skin, which was MJF saying, "This is not you. You don't have what it takes to be this guy, to go down this dark path." Which is saying that like you can pretend to be the bad guy, you can pretend to be this, you know, this arsonist and this badass, but I know who you are deep down. You're not man enough to go down this dark route.
Exactly. I mean, and it's also really cool. Yeah, like he says, sure, you've done heinous stuff, but you don't have the stomach for this.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, his biggest things Hangman has done as this heel, he burned Swerve's house down. He nearly tried to take Swerve's head off in that lights out match, and then he ended Daniel's career. So it
Mm-hmm.
really does, and you do, and tagging back to what we talked about briefly, that reaction Hangman had learning that Daniel's going to wrestle again.
Beautiful.
You do see it, yeah. It does hurt him. It's just he's trying to put on this face. He's like, in order to make sure my loved ones, the people I care about, aren't hurt again, I will hurt the other. I will hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I'll bring the pain onto you. And I like that we're
I
seeing
I
MJF
love
leading
the
that.
fact that AEW tells long stories, but they break them up into different feuds.
Yeah,
All of this
you really have
started
to be paying
because of
attention.
Swerve.
Yep.
Yeah, all of this started because Swerve invaded a man's home, and somehow now Hangman's the villain. I love these stories where, like, yeah, he's doing heinous stuff, but he has a reason why he's doing it.
Well, yeah, Hangman. As for the before he burned Swerve's house down, he was justified when he came back. He was
Mm-hmm,
justified in his action. He felt justified from his actions, and Swerve shows no regret in that. He's like, yes,
mm-hmm.
like in his little one-on-one with Ricochet, I accepted I'm the villain, and I get respect for that. So
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone knows Swerve will pull something like this. It was all the shot comes to Hangman. But then going on to
Mm-hmm,
the match MJF had, which was simply another like I won't say a squash, but a match for. I mean, yeah, him and Dustin Rose, 100%. I loved that match because it's really
mm-hmm.
showing MJF he's not gonna railroad over people like he thinks he is. He's actually going to get challenges against people who give a damn.
Dude, Dustin Rhodes, man, has found the fountain of youth. I always say this, but that man has found the fountain of youth, and he's so selfish for not sharing it with the world because the dude is what? He's about 60, ain't he? He's pushing
I
60.
believe so. Yeah, he just did post that he recently had a birthday. So yeah,
So, like, the fact that he's in probably the best shape of his entire career
Oh no,
in
he's
his
not. He's
60s,
55. He's 55.
55. Well, yeah, he's pushing. He's in his late 50s,
Yes,
but he's like he can still go, man. And
exactly.
the
I mean,
fact that he is not only pointing out Canadian destroyers in matches, but I love the shout out to Cody. I love the battle of the crossroads in here. Like MJF going for the double cross, and then the one person who knows how to block it is Cody's brother.
yeah. Like it really does play on when like in their promo battle from last Dynamite, he tried to use Cody as a way to belittle Dustin, but Dustin's like, yeah, he may have been your mentor, but he's my brother, and that move is also one of that my father taught us. So please don't beat me, don't ridicule me with this move. And I
Yeah,
do love how MJF really tries to go the low road, and that moment he's on the turnbuckle and the referee's distracted. Dustin gets to do the little shattered
yeah.
dreams. Part of me wanted Dustin to win, but I also realized, yeah, once Dustin did that shattered dreams and the final
Final reckoning.
the final reckoning move, I'm like, okay, it's either it wins or MJF's gonna kick out, and he kicks out. So I go, okay, MJF's gonna win. How will he
That
win?
was a great near fall, though. Like MJF waited to the last second to really kick out.
Yeah, and it does work there too because it plants in the minds of all the fans watching. If we do see Dustin and MJF again, everyone can still have that glimmer of hope that Dustin can get a W over MJF. But
And
yeah,
what I
MJF.
love is after the match, MJF wins with it's a crossface, right? He passes
Yeah,
out.
yeah, he passes out. He doesn't give up. He doesn't tap. The referee stops the match, which also I
Mm-hmm.
do believe opens that door again because Dustin's gonna tell you, you didn't beat me. I only passed out. And
Yeah,
I know Dustin in a promo, he will find a way to get under MJF's skin to where MJF will accept another shot.
Dustin is surprising. Dustin Rhodes is underrated on the mic. And what's good
Well,
about him is that you believe when he's on the mic, you believe every single word he's saying.
I mean, he's had very good promos when he is given the opportunity to talk. I mean, hell, during the Texas residency, when in that time of ROH, him forming a tag team with Sammy Guevara, him being trios champs with the Von Erichs, who are officially a part of AEW. I
That's
do,
awesome.
yeah. Hopefully with Dustin, I know Dustin, he's not going to be a double champ for too long. He's going to drop them soon.
Mm-hmm.
But I do appreciate this whole thing with Dustin. Like, yeah, I'm reminding people I'm not just some hand here. I am a competitive wrestler, and I'm damn good on the mic. He's not just
Mm-hmm.
training people. He's not training the talent. He's not just like getting new wrestlers into this company. He also wants to continue proving himself. And some of the matches I've seen him, and some of the tag matches he and Sammy have been fantastic. I only saw snippets of their match in in New Japan when they met for Wrestle Kingdom, I believe. That was so good. Just
Mm-hmm.
seeing how they work together and the fact their tag team is called the Sons of Texas, it's definitely building
I love
towards
it.
which is I had a in our conversation before we did this again, we were talking about between with MJF and Jeff Jarrett, and then Dustin got involved. I had a theory that if Dustin gets beaten badly by MJF again, two things were going to happen. One, we'll see Jeff Jarrett come back, or we finally see Sammy Guevara return onto the AEW roster,
Mm-hmm.
and he and MJF can have themselves a feud.
Ooh. So the idea I had, and I've actually heard this, you know, on another show, so I'm not going to take full credit for that. But I would have MJF be pretty much the new version of a legend killer,
Hmm.
where like he ends Jeff Jarrett's career, he ends Dustin Rhodes' career whenever he wants to retire. You know, you have him be the person who gets to retire these legends.
Mm-hmm.
Because not only would that make him even more of a heel, that would add so much notoriety to his name. As like, imagine him being the person to end Jeff Jarrett's career. You know what I mean? Like that. That's big. That's a big moment.
Yeah.
You can put on MJF.
Well, yeah, because honestly, I don't see Jeff Jarrett I mean, I really don't see Jeff Jarrett winning the AEW World Title. I believe he's gonna have multiple attempts to challenge for it, but I think that's one of the reasons why they have MJF included into this, to where
Mhm.
if Jeff Jarrett comes up short, MJF will pop right back up and go. In
I
a way,
told
it's
you.
gonna be kind of like what WWE did with Shawn Michaels and JBL, to where Shawn Michaels having that financial trouble, and then
Mhm.
he renders his services to JBL. I think we may have something like that, where instead of Jeff Jarrett rendering himself, he just finally relents and just goes, "Fine, I'll do it your way." And MJF, through politicking or through dirty means, will give Jarrett that opportunity. But it'll be a situation kind of like we saw with Kill Switch when he had that little contract, and then Christian took it to get the TNT title back
Mhm.
from Cope. I think we might see something similar like that, to where Jeff, he'll fight somebody. He'll. That's why I think the belt should be off Moxley, so we can have that kind of little trick, so we can have those kind of storylines. Because Moxley is
Mhm.
too much of a big boss to where we can have him against Jeff Jarrett, to where Jarrett can, take Moxley to the limit. They've done
Mhm.
AEW has done very well in building Moxley as a final boss. No pun intended to Dwayne Johnson, but he really is treated like a final boss, to where you practically almost need to kill him to beat him.
I think the problem that I have with the Death Rider story, we're getting kind of off topic, but that kind of leads to the
We'll
end
get
of
back into it. We'll definitely get back into it. But go ahead, say your piece.
is it feels like Bloodline from 2022, 2023, where it's like,
When they had
all
all the
right,
gold and they were just dominating.
well, that and it's the same ending of the matches every time, where it's like, oh, you know that Bloodline's going to get involved,
Yeah,
and at this point, you know that the Death Riders are going to be involved. So it makes your faces seem stupid when they don't have backup.
yeah. That's one of the things that I didn't like when they started doing heel tactics, because at least in those first after Wrestle Dream going up to Full Gear, the Death Riders were truly different. Like, they were kind of like a guerrilla unit, to where
Mhm.
they will do what they want to do. They don't need anybody assisting them winning matches, uh, and
Which is why I
that's why I
kind
want
of
the
wish
titles off them.
Moxley.
That's why I want the titles
Right.
off them, so they can get back to that version that we got of them earlier on. And yeah, um, going on. I mean, first off, let's finish off with after with MJF and Dustin. After MJF wins, he tries to do more damage to Dustin. Hangman appears, to get back in his face, and they have that nice brawl into the fans. I didn't even
Mhm.
notice this on the first playthrough. It wasn't until shown through clips. Turns out a fan was bugging MJF. MJF took the fan's cup of beer and then just doused him with it.
Oh no,
Yeah, he
that's
doused the
awesome.
fan with their own cup of beer, which was funny.
But yeah, I love the fact that Hangman, seeing that MJF is going to attack someone and possibly injure them the way he did Daniels,
Hmm.
it's that switch of like, I can't let this happen to anybody else, which I like. So he comes out and stops him. It's more of a, I'm not doing this because I'm a good guy. I'm doing this because I don't want to take food off of somebody's plate.
Exactly.
So we didn't talk about this match, but we can get into it real quick. It's a squash match. Samoa Joe, Hook, and Katsuyori Shibata versus
I
John
think we
Cruz,
circle
Aaron
back to it.
Solo, and Rocio Grillo.
I
It's a
think so.
2-minute
Yeah, that's
squash match. Samoa Joe win. The team of Joe, Hook, and Shibata win with Joe hitting a muscle buster. Then Joe has a really good promo, and I love the name of this trio, the Ops,
yeah.
which is
They
like,
are.
hey,
I love it too. Like, it's fine. If it wasn't for, I mean, look, Joe had unfortunately some scheduling conflicts, so they couldn't go all in on this trio, which is why we had that whole thing with Jericho wiping each
wasn't he
member out.
shooting season 2 of Twisted Metal? Is that why
Yeah, he
he's?
was, but he also had another project he was doing that kept him off TV for a while. But I
I
really
wonder if
did
it was
like.
Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League.
No, that was already he had already done. No, he did mo for he did motion capture for the Suicide Squad. You know
No,
what? No, there's
he
another
was
video
mocap.
game that he's featured that he did. God
Yeah,
damn it.
it doesn't matter at this point.
It doesn't matter, but even then, I do appreciate that Joe gets on that mic. He runs down Christian. He runs down all of them and says, "Look, if you're as bad as you claim to be, come face the three of us." And I do love that they are setting up that finally they are going all in behind this group. And I
Mhm.
do think that hopefully we get with oh no, yeah, you're right. He did do King Shark for Kill the Justice League, so you were right about that one. But that was 2024, and then yeah, he. Yep. Okay, but beyond that, I am so looking forward to that's Pirate Yakuza. That's the game that he did. Okay,
Oh.
like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza, because I remembered a poster of his face
Mhm.
uh, as a video game character. That was the video game, but I once again distracted myself. Getting back to Samoa Joe with the three of them together. That's also another great trio to start building the trios division around again. And maybe with Christian, I don't know if you noticed this, but at the convention center, Killswitch did a performance, did an appearance. So you do see he's healthy, he's back on his feet again. So
Awesome.
maybe, and it's already been scheduled that next Dynamite we're going to see the Ops versus the Patriarchy. This could be the opportunity of them bringing Killswitch back into the fold.
Ooh, okay.
So then maybe if we do have that moment of Cope winning against Moxley and then Christian wins the championship, we have Christian as champion, and then you have the patriarchy of Killswitch, Kip, and Nick Wayne as a trio mixing up
Mhm.
in the trios division.
Yeah. All
Again,
right, so let's move.
opening the doors for more opportunities for storytelling.
Yep. All right, so let's move on. How'd you feel about this Jericho Bandito stuff?
I groaned and rolled my eyes. I look that moment between Brian Keith and Bandito was so good on Collision because it fit into both of their motifs, and it was such
The
a
bounty, the
flash of
bounty hunter.
genius. Yeah, their little walk, their 10 count pace. That was such a flash of genius moment. I was upset that Jericho just replicated it just for a beatdown. I'm like, come on, man. if
Can I
we
be
can,
honest? I didn't watch the match on Collision, so I didn't know that was a callback. I laughed so fucking hard when they had the
it
blue
was
lie
more
and
of
they
a
just kind
cringe
of did the
moment
10
for me,
paces.
honestly. I think it'll be funny once time is moved away from it if it builds to Bandino and Jericho for the Ring of Honor World title.
Mm-hmm.
But just as a moment of its own, being so recently fresh from the collision moment, I was just,
Yeah.
God damn it. But go ahead, man. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I I don't get the amount of hate Jericho gets online. I think it's too much hate, if I'm being honest.
I agree. It's too much hate as well. And I personally, I just think he's on TV so much that he could benefit from maybe being away a few months
Mm-hmm.
uh, off of television. Like he could be working, he could help work as a producer backstage with angles. Maybe the learning tree doesn't need to be on Dynamite and Collision every week. I mean, one thing I was hoping with Jericho after the Jericho Appreciation Society and the Inner Circle, those were two good faction gimmicks for him.
Mm-hmm.
But it was clear after the Jericho Appreciation Society had split up, Jericho was pretty much wandering on his own. Had the golden, um,
Golden
like
Jets.
the Golden Jets with Kenny Omega. Then was Lionheart again. I was just more of like, no, take some time off television, then gets involved with Hook, the Jericho Vortex. I understand Jericho wanting to attach himself. He's the veteran. He wants to elevate people. Problem is that most of the time after he's done in a feud, I'm not seeing more time to the person he's feuding against.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't get the hate towards Jericho either. I mean, look, we have as wrestling fans, and believe me, if you are a wrestling fan, you have truly seen worse worse wrestler, so many terrible wrestler egos taking more screen time. I mean, for fuck's sakes, people use Hulk Hogan's name as as a way of tying him into wrestlers who they think are stealing so much of the spotlight. Most of the time, it's used on the women, which is one thing I hate about that side.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, Jericho, he's not that bad. It's clear with Jericho, at least we get some fun moments from him. And it is clear that when he does have younger talent under him, it does work on a certain degree because
Mm-hmm.
Sammy Guevara, he had that huge pop the first time he left the inner circle. Of course, booking, they really dropped the bag on him so hard. They dropped the ball so hard on him. He had unfortunately to go back to Jericho for the Jericho Appreciation Society. Daniel Garcia was definitely someone being built, and then from that interview, Jericho didn't want to push too early on him. And then Daniel Garcia floated a little bit, but he built himself right back up.
Mm-hmm.
And now with the learning tree, we saw Big Bill he's building. And I am pretty sure that moment between Brian Keith and Bandito, the people are going to be behind Brian Keith. So it's kind of one of those situations where Jericho needs to really see where that wind is going for these guys to move on.
Mm-hmm.
Him maybe to just settle, you know. He doesn't need
Yeah, so I understand. I don't like the fact that your Ring of Honor World Champion is not on Ring of Honor TV.
Yeah, he's not.
I hate the fact that you're having to build an ROH card without your World Champion to continue storylines. Because Jericho doing this with Bandito in Ring of Honor would be fine because they're setting up a title feud.
Exactly.
You don't have to do it on Dynamite. Let Honor Club have that. Have it be when NXT was on the network.
Yes.
It was contained. But people loved it because you had interesting storylines going on.
I think the problem is this community is kind of in a flux. Well, not a flux. It's like they're in this confusing little myriad to where they think they understand what needs exposure and what doesn't need exposure. And of course, for a while when AEW got Ring of Honor, everyone's thinking, "Oh no, Tony Khan's going to drop this ball on him." Yeah, Ring of Honor doesn't have a television show. I get that, but why is that so important? He sets up Honor Club. The last thing, if I remember, NXT got popular because, like you said, they were isolated from Raw and SmackDown, from Vince. They were its own thing, and it wasn't until you saw more
different.
Yes, and it wasn't until you saw more wrestlers from NXT appear, people started paying attention. But of course, you know, it wasn't until NXT was officially on television, then you started getting droves and droves of fans going like, "Oh my god, NXT's so fantastic." That would not have happened if AEW did not get in there. NXT would never have gotten on television. And every now and then, keep hearing reports of Tony is working a deal. He's working a deal of getting them a ROH television show. But
I'm sorry, I would much rather ROH be a part of BR Sports on Max.
Yeah,
that way you don't have to worry about it. It's still on a streaming service, but it's on a bigger streaming service. Imagine someone is just watching, AEW on Max, and they come across ROH. Maybe they've heard of it, maybe they haven't. But now you're opening more eyes to Ring of Honor. It's not behind another subscription.
Yeah. That's kind of one of the issues people are saying. People are like, "Oh, if it's on free TV, we don't have to worry about these subscriptions." But here's the problem: when something's given to them, there's still going to be more complaints.
Oh yeah, but if you put it on Max, AEW is already on there.
Yes.
So it makes sense to add an AEW tab and a Ring of Honor tab. Then you can slowly start pouring over the stuff from Honor Club into Max.
Yes.
It's perfect. I don't know why ROH wasn't included in the Max deal to begin with.
That's something
because that just adds more content on Warner Brothers side.
Yeah, but we'll get down. It'll come down to it sooner or later. Hopefully, I don't know. It's really difficult to tell at this point. I want to say there will be a deal to where ROH will officially be on streaming, or maybe a deal will happen maybe later in 2025. ROH will be on Max, but I think as long as it's yeah, I'm really stuck at this point. I'm not frustrated, but I'm just a little stuck to where I want to have ROH still be its own thing, have its own service, but
Mm-hmm.
have some of the wrestlers still get some exposure on AEW. But then I'm like, maybe if ROH does get a TV show, it'll at least shut some voices up so they can know, and then they can be like, okay, I'm watching this now. I'm like, oh, I can't. Uh, I'm
I just
spending so
want
much. I think we should move on at this point. I don't want to continue being stuck here. We still got some more of this show left to cover.
yeah. All right, so let's move on. We had a lot of development in the women's division on this episode of Dynamite, and I
Oh
loved
yeah,
it.
segments, matches. That was amazing.
So we had, I believe this is the second match of Megan Bayne, first singles match in AEW, because she debuted
Uh,
in the Gauntlet match, and then I believe this
she
is her
had a
first
match on
single. Yeah.
Collision. Yeah, she had a match on
Oh, okay.
Collision, and then yeah,
So
this is the first match on Dynamite, second singles match.
mhm. Yeah, this was a squash match. Brilliant. You want to show what she can do. I love that her finisher is the F5. I don't know a lot about Megan Bayne, if I'm being honest. But what a great introduction for someone who didn't know who she was.
It really is. I mean, she's presented. I think I heard someone on commentary, or if this was like a comment I came across to where Megan Bayne looks like a boss from God of War, and I'm like, yeah, that works
Yes.
perfectly for her because of her stature, how she presents herself, and oh my god, even if you've not seen some of her matches in Stardom, she has matches in GCW for you to check out. Oh, she's done.
Okay. Awesome.
She and because of her size and stature, because she's wrestling GCW, she's mostly wrestled against a lot of guys, and of course
Mm-hmm.
against the women's matches. So there's plenty for you to see, and I think she still has a couple of GCW dates under her scheduling. So
Mm-hmm.
I like right now she's being presented as this silent, dominant boss, and so far the only people that have kind of gotten in her way have been Thunder Rosa from this past Collision, and now with Chris Statlander interrupting her.
Dude, Megan Bayne and Chris Statlander is going to be a fucking banger of a match.
Oh, her and Chris Statlander and her versus Thunder Rosa, two great big matches for Megan Bayne
Mm-hmm.
to step out in front of this AEW crowd to show them what she is truly made of. A veteran like Thunder Rosa who can make her look good, and someone like Chris Statlander where you can have a Hoss fight where the chance you will hear meat matches during a women's match. So that is something to
Yeah.
look forward to.
I someone again from Fightful brought this up, and I want to give them a shout out for it. AEW is doing a really great job at building women's feuds that are not surrounded by the title anymore. Which I love that, like, you can get a mid-card feud that doesn't have to be circling around a title. So you have Chris Statlander and Megan Bayne. They set up Marina Shafir versus Willow Nightingale in a backstage promo.
Oh yeah, when
Which
she attacks her.
yeah. So you're starting to see more women's division matches that aren't slowly surrounded by the two titles, which I love.
And that's why I think should help really develop the women's division more, like really showing that depth. You really not just have some feuds, but also really start exposing more. Like Penelope Ford, who's been with the company since day one, she comes
Mm-hmm.
back from a long injury, and she's had matches so far against Tony Storm, She had a match on Collision against Thunder Rosa, which Thunder Rosa won. That led Megan Bayne to show up here and do a post beatdown, which happened here again after Chris Statlander beat her. Megan shows up again, and as much as I like how they're showing that, yeah, Penelope Ford is a mainstay here, and that she's not someone to be trifled with. But this version of Chris Statlander, unfortunately, it doesn't help. But also, it's kind of weird. Commentary kind of glossed over the little feud they had with each other during the 2020 pandemic when Statlander was aligned with the Best Friends and they were feuding against, now they recently released Miro and Kip Sabian. But I guess they didn't focus too much on the little rivalry those two had with each other.
Yeah, so we had Penelope Ford versus Chris Statlander. Decent match. I kind of like had other stuff to do in personal life, so I didn't really get to pay attention to this match as much. But Chris wins with a clothesline in the Wednesday Night Fever. It went about 8 minutes. Really good showing for Chris. You want to keep her kind of looking strong. Then this might be my favorite segment of the night. Harley Cameron with the Mercedes puppet.
Oh God!
And her rap was so funny, bro. But what I love is this. It went about like a minute or so, but not only do you get the comedy of Harley with the puppet and things like that, and her with the Mercedes music, like dancing with the puppet was hilarious. But they actually showed like Harley's not just a joke act, because she really had a sit down interview where she was like, "You keep saying I'm a nobody, you keep saying I'm nothing, but you know, I've improved in my wrestling skills. It took me time to learn."
It was O'Shea Jackson that said that line. He said the line on his Twitter, like, Megan Bayne looks like a God of War boss. That was from him. I just remembered that. I am so sorry.
No. But she says that she had to start somewhere. She didn't, she had to learn how to be, what is it, a ventriloquist. She had to learn to be a pro wrestler. And I love that she was like, I also, learned how to, speak Japanese. She just immediately goes into speaking Japanese. I love it, because Mercedes wrestled in Japan. She's going to understand what she's saying.
Yeah, this is Harley showing not only the multi-talent she has, but how hard she worked to have these talents. My first introduction to her wasn't through like the QTV stuff. It was actually when she was still going around as a singer, as an artist. Because I don't know if many people know, but when the Iconics were released and they were wrestling in TNA, Harley Cameron was the person who performed their theme song.
What?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
At the time, she was going under her name Danny Aiello, but she was the one who sung the Icons, the Inspiration, their theme song in TNA.
That's so cool. I did not know that.
Yeah, I mean, if you go look at the Inspiration tag matches, or even their date, or even some of them, they come out. She actually came out with them a few times. I think on one of their when the Inspiration challenge for the Knockouts tag titles, she came out with them and sang that intro song.
That's awesome. But I like that they're using Harley Cameron in a way where it makes sense. She's not just given a title shot.
I'm sorry. No, you are 100% correct. She's not automatically given. It's something she really had to earn. And hold on. Jesus Christ. I'm trying to look at something here and but this is it. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So while she may have not have been a wrestler, but she was still like around the wrestling scene. I even believe she was. She did say in an interview she did have like some tryouts during NXT time. So she was trying to break into the wrestling business. It was just kind of, not many people were willing to. Maybe she just didn't impress a lot of people a lot. So that's why I like how she's putting so much of the work here in AEW. Like, if this is something she wants to pursue, she's pursuing it.
Yeah. All right. So, are you ready to move on to our main event?
Yes, let's move on.
The AEW Tag Team Championships are on the line. The Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, take on the returning Guns, which last week we didn't get to talk about it. I love that the Guns immediately were like, we never got our rematch for the tag titles. We've been out. What a great way to reintroduce the Guns. And I love that they are finally starting to, like when MVP calls them ass boys, Austin's like, hell yeah, we are. Like, they're taking that name that they used to hate and they're embracing it now. They're like, yeah, you can call us whatever you want, but we're still here and we're still gonna, fight you guys.
But also, this is not only them leaning into like the people chain ass boys, but it's also like it's them also reminding people they are a solid tag team. And that's what they were doing in this match. Sure, most people will say the Hurt Syndicate was dominating, but not true a lot. The Gun Club, Austin and Colton were able to at least they were able to at least keep Sheldon in the ring long enough to in order to prevent him from tagging in Bobby. So they did got in some great offense. But yes, once Bobby got involved and once the Hurt Syndicate start getting in there, once Bobby and Shelton started finding their groove, yeah, there was not much Austin and Colton can do.
Dude,
but even in the small,
for Lashley not being a tag competitor, for Lashley not being a tag team guy, he's really good in the fucking tag team.
Oh yeah, he is. I wouldn't be surprised if they keep those belts on the Hurt Syndicate for a while to set up. I mean, not only just not just to rebuild the tag. I keep saying rebuild. It's not broken. It's just more refocus the tag team. That's why. I mean, as much I do love Private Party, I'm kind of glad they put the belts on the Hurt Syndicate. I mean, Private Party would have been a great team to really build that tag team division round, but you couldn't also ignore just how hot the Hurt Syndicate is. It's just one of these troubling moments to where when you have a hot act, it's hard to determine when to push them or when to like really put them make them the centerpiece. So having the Hurt Syndicate as the centerpiece, it's a good way of not only really working with Shelton and Bobby as his great tag team, but it also helps when you bring in teams like the Guns back. When after the match was over, you have the murder machines of Brian Cage and Lance Archer.
Talk about meat.
Double like this is like this is like a stack. This is like a stack of ribs cut apart where you have meat on meat on meat on meat.
When the leanest and smallest man in this feud is Shelton Benjamin and he's still fucking jacked, that says a lot.
Exactly. Oh, I know they're saying that up. To me, this match feels like it should be a pay-per-view match, not something. As much as I would love to see it on Collision or on Dynamite, and I'm not saying this because I bought tickets to go see Revolution. I think that this match does feel like
you just want to chant meat. Come on, admit it. You just want to chant meat.
Well, yeah, I do want to chant the meat, but it's just more in the situations where this feels like a big pay-per-view money match.
Yeah, I love the fact that.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say it doesn't matter if the Hurt Syndicate are being cheered in their heels. It's the Hurt Syndicate; they are their own goddamn thing, and they are so hot right now. Like even currently, there's still rumors floating around if there's gonna be a fourth member to this team. And looking at some of that's where a lot of people are saying since he's been released. But seeing that if he is under that 90-day clause, I don't know if it'll be in time when the Hurt Syndicate are still a hot act.
See, that's the thing. I don't think the Hurt Syndicate is going to lose steam, especially with someone like MVP who can always. Because MVP, he's really good at not only keeping attention, but also driving storylines that nobody else could think of.
Yeah, I do agree.
Like, I love that you don't have Shelton talk and you don't have Bobby talk. Bobby's an okay promo. Shelton's an okay promo, but you you want to emphasize what they're good at, in-ring wrestling.
Yeah,
And
also,
I absolutely love that Shelton Benjamin has been getting to show what he can actually do, because Shelton Benjamin is so freaking underrated when it comes to just pure wrestling talent, and he's getting to show it in AEW.
I agree. As far as wrestling talent goes, Shelton and Bobby, top tier. It's
Mm-hmm.
one Shelton not being given a world title during his tenure has been,
Crazy.
yeah, crazy and the most disappointing thing ever. I don't care what people are going to say if Shelton, even if Shelton does believe in his own hype, Shelton's early career was enough to show you that this man can win a world championship. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
and even then, people still want to talk about promo ability. Not it. Shelton was there at a time where people could just say a quip or an insult and they think, oh, fantastic promo. Sometimes promos were telling stories, and Shelton, given if he was given the right material, or at least he was given a better way to deliver a promo, like give put you put Kingston in, you get Eddie Kingston involved in this, like have him do a promo class for guys like Bobby and Shelton and Ricochet and Buddy and Brody to look at. I can see these men, all of these men, deliver
Mm-hmm.
deadly fucking promos. I mean, hell, Brody Lee, when he was unleashed from WWE, the promos he was able to cut were fantastic.
Yeah, amazing. But
So it
like,
really comes down to on the promo ability. It's not just like being charismatic. It's also
mm,
really like believing in what you're like constantly believing what you're saying, putting your heart out there. As much as people did not like, I don't like how they call him Homelander Cody during AEW. At least when Cody cut those promos, he was really trying to connect, and that's the point.
mm,
Is connecting, and I do believe that Shelton, when that moment comes where he is going to be on that mic, I believe he's going to cut a very heartfelt and lethal promo. It's going to happen.
yeah, I think what really solidified Shelton in AEW was the C2. He had
Mm,
so many great matches that even if he lost, he put so he put all his effort in these matches. They even set up him and Daniel Garcia down the line, which that is going to be a fucking banger match for the
exactly.
TNT title.
I even like that little build to him and Swerve. Like that was also a way of saying, like, "Hey, man, this is those two, 3 matches he had building up to Swerve were
Mm-hmm.
fantastic." It's like, "Hey, this is the Shelton Benjamin you're getting," and then yes, the C2 was like, "No, this is the Shelton Benjamin we have here, and you're gonna love it." And with Bobby, they know exactly how to use him too. Until they get him an opponent that can challenge him, he is gonna come in, he's gonna squash, hurt people, and then walk on his way out. That's why I love with Swerve's current role right now. He sees a certain talent coming in, and he's working to put these guys over. Even if he
Mm-hmm.
beats Shelton, he still puts Shelton over. Yes, he in his match against Bobby, man, they were like, yeah, Bobby's dominating this guy. That's the role that Swerve played. And even now with Ricochet, Ricochet needs that change. Swerve's gonna be that person to be like, here's a dangerous Ricochet that you're all gonna like. And guess what?
Mm-hmm.
People are finally all in, mostly all in on Ricochet being here in AEW.
Yeah. Um, I love that they took these two guys who have a very close friendship and they immediately clicked. They were like, no, we're giving you the titles, you're running with it. With MVP, the great thing is the whole storyline is if you show me respect, I will show you respect.
Hell, he even
With
puts over. He
MVP,
put
it's
over.
great.
Yeah, and I love what MVP even put over Private Party. He's not like,
Mm-hmm.
sorry guys, you're not better than us. It's just like you were champions at the wrong place, the wrong time.
Wrong time, exactly. And it was like, you guys are great, but you're not these guys. You're not Shelton Benjamin. You're not Bobby Lashley. Like,
Exactly.
and not only that, it doesn't diminish your tag division, and that's what MVP is really good at, not diminishing his opponents for Lashley and Shelton, but also being like, but look who I have in my faction. Look who I have under my wings. Like giving Shelton Benjamin the nickname the Standard of Excellence is fantastic because that is what he is. He is the standard bearer of what a pro wrestler should be.
And when you have a match, and when whoever he's wrestling against, it's going to be a fucking excellent match. Even if it's a short 5-minute match, or we get a match like we see in the C2 of him versus Kyle Fletcher, Daniel Garcia, Kazuchika Okada, Mortis, and of course Mark Briscoe. Like that's the excellence you're going to get from him.
Yeah. So this match was fantastic. I love, as you said, the Guns knowing that if Lashley gets into this match, it's over. Because Lashley is this, he's the, this destroyer.
He's a bulldozer.
You're done. Yeah. And once Shelton got tagged in Lashley, you knew it was over. He bum rushed everybody. Fucking love Lashley's spear. I love how he just runs right into his opponent, and it's over at that point.
It's outside of Rhino's gore and even early run Goldberg spear. That is one of my favorite spears because
that little somersault he does.
Yeah, that's that front roll he does after he hits you because he's like, if you're gonna get up, I want to get ready again. Like he can do a spear from corner to corner, hit you in the middle of the ring, roll, set himself in the corner, hit you again.
Love it.
Like I swear to God, I will pop like crazy the moment Lashley does back-to-back spears. Like he hits somebody down, he's like, oh no, they're not down. Post himself back in the corner.
He should have done that against Swerve in his opening match. Swerve should have got up from the first spear and he rolled through into another one to finish him.
Yeah.
That would have been so cool.
That works so well when Lashley does that front roll. So when you have someone who reverses that spear, you can a good technician can reverse. Well, no. That spear can be done in so many different ways. So he can squash somebody with that. If you put him against like a ring technician who's good on holds and submission moves, they could reverse that into arm bars or reverse it into guillotine holds, when he does that. Or in against someone who, like a Lance Archer or a Brian Cage, he does that, they can catch him, maybe reverse it into a snap suplex.
Or a power bomb.
Yeah. So sky's the limit. The versatility in something like that can tell so many.
I love how
tell so many good quick stories.
I love how at the end of this match, Shelton sets up the spear. Shelton has a great fucking knee in the corner, man. Oh. He like pops his knee up, and you hear the sound when he hits the jaw. It's amazing.
The knee and then that sets up the spear. I love his knee. I love that pop-up turnbuckle knee and his thrust kick. Really showing the difference between a super kick and a thrust kick.
Yes, it's so good. Everything Shelton Benjamin does, he makes it look impactful, especially now. Yes. All right, so let's move on to our closing segment. We have Adam Copeland and Jay White. This is, I don't know how I feel about this. I feel like it's getting better with the Death Rider story, but I want more from it.
Yeah.
And the idea that like Jon Moxley is so worried about the title being destroyed that he gives Copeland the match doesn't make sense to me, because the whole storyline is you don't deserve to see the title, so I'm going to hold it in this briefcase. So why would Moxley care if? Well,
because Copeland was going to break open that suitcase. He was going to break open that briefcase. But even then, that's what he was saying. He's going to break it open and show everyone the title, which was the idea in theory. But then when Copeland starts to break it again, I'm like, okay, I get it. It's supposed to be like, yeah, Mox, Mox is supposed to be calling out his bluff, but then Cope's like, no, I'm going to do it anyway. I get that. All on paper, it makes sense. Mm-hmm. It's just, unfortunately, it just came down to it fell off on the execution.
I get the idea of putting it in the briefcase, and I actually like it. It's because it's the old tried and true, uncovering the belt. People are going to pop for it when they feel, or when
it was in a bag. I liked it better when it was in a bag, because even though in a storyline way, it could look like Mox is just tossing this damn thing around a bag like he doesn't care about it, and then he'll cut these promos of like, y'all don't deserve this championship, so you like there could have been so many word on plays of like, you guys want the bag. You talk about wanting to grab the bag, be the best. Well, here's the bag right in front of you, you know.
Yeah, I like the idea of them being like, you fans don't deserve to see the world title because of the idea that's like when the face wins and uncovers a belt, it's going to get a good pop.
Yeah.
The execution could have is what I'm having problems with, and that
That's
seems
why
like to
it's
be
one of those things why
the
I
Death
really do.
Rider problem.
Yeah. It's one of those things why I do believe the belt needs to get off of him. I think they had a strong start and a strong finish in mind for this storyline, but
Mm-hmm.
because of certain factors that got in the way, pretty much Darby wanted to climb Mount Everest, which did feel like he was, and then of course Orange Cassidy, who's off television for a while, they really did not set up any more. I mean, Jay White being back, fantastic, but it's very clear that they had no other opponents in mind during those
Mm-hmm.
first 2 months from Wrestle Dream to World's End.
Yeah.
After those 2 months, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I
I
don't think it's getting stale and I don't think it sucks. I just think it's in this little it's in this morphous, it's in this metamorphosis where they don't know if they want to move forward, push harder with it,
mm-hmm.
or keep it in stasis until Darby gets back. I really hope that's not the case. I want this to change. Like, one thing is AEW and even WWE have shown when they do long-term plans with long reigning champions, most of the time the right person at the moment who should take the belt off of a certain wrestler is pushed aside
Mm-hmm.
because they want that big story crescendo moment. And
like
sometimes,
Luther and Chad Gable, for example.
yes, and then of course, like I as much as I feel for everyone wanting Gable to get at Mania, if Gable couldn't do it at a Raw in front of his family, or he couldn't do it at a pay per view, I mean, sure, it's WrestleMania. There's the
Mm-hmm.
difference there. But even then, if Drew McIntyre or Sheamus couldn't win it in front of a whole crowd, or Sheamus couldn't do it in front of his home crowd, it really does come down to how emotional the payoff's going to be. And I do think the emotional payoff with Sami winning it was important. But like
Mm-hmm.
everything else is, if you find this emotional crux in the story, you need a strong follow up moving forward. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. That's the give and take when it comes with storytelling and wrestling. You have a good chapter to end it, but then once you move on from it, it's like, okay, we're scurrying over. I'm like, that's what bothers me the most with so many TV wrestling companies. It's like, no, if you have a plan on who's taking the championship or who's taking the win, you should immediately already be 5 steps ahead and moving forward from it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you have a team of writers and creatives involved and producers and talent agents in the back. So you have this plan moving forward. If something has to change on the fly, it changes on the fly, and you should be able to adapt to it.
Yeah, I don't hate the Death Rider storyline like some people do. I just wish that they would have multiple potential people to take the belt off of Moxley.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel like you could give the belt to Adam Copeland at Revolution just because he just returned, and I want to see more development. I think Copeland and FTR should take the trio belts off of Claudio Wheeler and
If they don't give it to Undisputed Kingdom, that is,
I don't know. I would give it to Rated
Rated
FTR
FTR. Yeah.
because I feel like then the trio's titles are on somebody like Copeland, who is this legend. He has this name. FTR are an established tag team, and they've had trios matches, and they're undefeated so far. So it makes sense to have them, and they're in this Death Riders storyline. Then it makes sense to have them take the belts off of them.
Yes.
I just wish that like someone like a Jay White could get a one-on-one match with Moxley, take the belt off of Moxley. I think setting him up as you said, this very smart wrestler who picks his moments is very important. And then you can even have it to where he's thinking 3 steps ahead. He has people in the back to take out you know, the Death Riders. Like, he picks his spot. He knows his moment. Say Double or Nothing, for example.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, okay, Rated FTR. They're taking care of Pac and them. So I have my moment. One-on-one opportunity. That shows how smart Jay White is. He picks his spot and picks his moment, and then he executes on it. I feel like you could really, really set that up, but they're not doing a good job at. Because another problem I have is, why is Jay White okay with Copeland getting a title shot when he never got a fair shot at the title?
That's why I think his goal is going to be to take out Wheeler Yuta at first, because they
Mm-hmm.
have shown very well every time Jay White has stepped up or has come close. Wheeler is that thorn in his side. Even Jay White even said when he lost the opportunity to get the number one spot in the Casino Gauntlet,
Mm-hmm.
Yuta constantly keeps getting in his way. That's why I said earlier on, I do feel there's going to be a build of a big match between him and Wheeler Yuta.
Didn't they already have that blow-off match?
No, I don't think they did.
Didn't Jay White win like 2 weeks ago? Because I'm pretty sure they had Jay White versus Wheeler Yuta already.
I was so sure that did not happen yet.
I think that was the main event 2 weeks ago, wasn't it? Of Dynamite.
Hold on. But we'll take a look later on, but I could be wrong, honestly. It's just kind of like those situations where I'm going, man, this feels like we should be. Maybe they are building to Jay White challenging him. No, I don't see Jay White.
Yeah, Wheeler Yuta versus Switchblade Jay White 2 weeks ago from the Oddly Wrestling Facebook account.
Okay, I do see it. I'm looking at Cage Match. I do see the match.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm pretty sure they've already had that match. I'm pretty sure, didn't Jay White already win that match?
That is true, but Wheeler still keeps being a thorn in his side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he did beat him.
So I don't know. Why would Jay White be okay taking a step back? You know what I mean?
Well, to me, I think in Jay White's mind, I think it's kind of like a quid pro quo situation. Like, he helps Cope handle the Death Riders, and then they'll have his back. If Cope doesn't get it done, he'll step up and challenge.
Yeah, I could see that. But overall, man, really good Dynamite. I really love this episode. But we are going on about 2 hours, so we're going to have to wrap it up soon. Ryan, give your closing thoughts on the show, and then where can people find you online?
Well, my closing thoughts, as I said, building into Grand Slam this upcoming Saturday. A truly great show. Dynamite is always great. It's always solid. They're doing a good job now of really building up each and every show. Really setting up feuds that are being saved weeks down the road, so then they can be these big matches. And this one was fantastic to really set up all 5 matches to be very important with the stakes involved here. And as far as people can find me, I'm on social media, guys. Not as I don't post frequently, but I'm on social media. Twitter, not calling it X, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I have a Blue Sky account. Whenever that Blue Sky version of Instagram pops up, I'm gonna have that as well. So that's where you guys can find me. My name Ryan. Just find my name Ryan Payne, and then I'll pop up. There are plenty of Ryan Paynes on Facebook, which I found out. But trust me, my photo is not hard to find. So that's where you guys can find me.
All right, guys, if you did enjoy this, please hit the like button and subscribe down below. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys soon. Peace.